It's very easy to get carried away when you're thinking about design and focusing on resale. A lot of clients design houses for the next user. Their decisions are actually guided by, well, what is the market telling me that my home should have? We actually took an entirely different approach with this home. We said, what do we want? It's my own home, so of course it's very dear to me. But it's a really good showcase of how we can deliver a really good result for sort of minimal outlay and on quite a tight budget.
But is that a fake plant hanging over there?
Yeah.
You've just broken his heart.
I'll bring you a hanging plant.
Okay.
This is Dave and I'm Josh from Pillah Constructions.
I've worked with Pillah on a number of projects before, so obviously know how they work, and we already had a good existing relationship.
He's seen what we can do and he approached us about doing his own house.
We originally had a much bigger idea for it. We were going to lift the place up and build in underneath, and a much grander renovation, but we got caught up in that time just after COVID where the cost of everything just went through the roof. Like a lot of people, we had to go back to the drawing board.
Billy redesigned the house, scaled it back a bit.
It actually forced us to think, what do we really need and how do we achieve that in a much more efficient and smaller footprint? We're not trying to cram in a dining table plus a lounge suite plus a kitchen into this space, which the old house was doing, and all of it was just a bit too tight. So this sort of just frees it up a little bit more. It's a multifunctional space and it caters well for the way that we live.
I think Billy wanted to keep the character of the house but put a twist on your typical Kenmore home.
The original house was very basic. It was a small mid-century home, and we always used to say it looked like a caravan. It had plastic siding on it and it was really, really small. It was a small 3-bedroom, 1-bath home, and what we really wanted to do was just expand it, you know, for a young family and for some guests as well. So we were hoping to achieve on a minimum 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms as well. We've only extended the house about 2.5 metres, but with reshuffling a few walls internally, that actually gave us the space to squeeze this entire extra room plus another ensuite into the plan as well. As an architect, I've got a lot of ideas, but decisions weren't made purely emotionally. They were actually made practically as well. So I knew where to place the walls and how the structure would work to actually make the build less complicated, so the guys on site were just able to put it together really quickly and more quickly and more cheaply than they actually even budgeted for.
Billy's plans are great. There's just that much detail on them. You barely ever have any questions that you're worried about. There was a few things I think at the start that we changed here and there just to bring it down to the right budget, but you don't really want to change an architect's home, do you?
No.
There's a few reasons this came under budget. The plans were great. Like, it was a really smooth job. There was a couple hidden things we found, like with the asbestos here and there.
I think anyone buying a house of this era,
You expected.
it's going to be there. We've got to live with it or you remove it.
That sort of hurts when you're on a tighter budget because you look at that as money that you don't really see. But it did give us an opportunity. While the guys were up there ripping into the roof, we were able to put a few skylights, in particular into one of the bathrooms. That was originally the darkest room in the house. The skylight is just flooding this room with natural light. My wife was really good. She went along with the process and she vetoed me a few times, which is always good, brought us back to reality. So I did get a bit carried away at one stage. I painted every single door in the house bright yellow, and I actually quite liked it. Just another pop of yellow. But my wife walked in one day and freaked out.
We did want to keep the yellow doors internally, but Billy chickened out right at the end.
You just kept one.
We were forced to actually paint them all back white, which I think at the end of the day is probably a good decision, but we did manage to leave our yellow front door and we're both really happy with that, and it makes a real statement from the front of the house. You can't miss that one. I was really happy with the way that the guys dealt with the build, and in particular the attention to detail.
It's a beautifully renovated home that looks great, but it hasn't taken away from the character.
These exposed rafters were part of the original house. We really loved that. They're a little bit beaten up in parts. We liked that old charm of the old house, and we've actually replicated that through the new extension as well. Even restoring some of those older elements like the timber floors, they turned out so nicely when they were repolished. We repolished them in a matte tone rather than the gloss that they were. It just gave it a slightly more modern touch.
Look at the place. It was an enjoyable build. It came up a treat. And it was great dealing with Billy.
I think everyone's a little bit surprised when they come to this house. I wouldn't say it's a show-stopping design, but what it's done is it's delivered big impact. I get stuck in certain places in the house and I just stare and I'm just sort of mesmerised by the way it is. I think the most beautiful thing about this home is not so much that it relies on over-the-top finishes or anything like that. It's actually quite pared back, it's actually quite restrained, but it's just got some nice play of colours and some nice play of light and the breezes when you open it all up as well, and just how it connects to the landscaping around it. I absolutely love it. For us right now, it's perfect for our lifestyle, and I think that's part of designing for yourself, is making sure that you're prioritising the things that are special to you.